We had a question on exercise number 8. So let's look at that. I'm going to hide this. Exercise number 8. Start a new drawing from scratch. Use a decimal unit template of your choice. Draw the part view shown. So this one, it's all orthogonal. That means in the 0, 90, 270, or 180 degrees. We're going straight up and down or horizontal. So basically you can start any way you want, and because we're working in quarter units, you can turn your snap to grid to 0.25 and you should be able to navigate across. The other way of doing it is just to know the angles. If we were to start at this corner, we'd be traveling 1.75 units at an angle of 180. That's measured from the horizontal to the right. So 180 as measured from here all the way around. So we could do that. 1.75 at an angle of 180, and then 0.75 up at an angle of 90. Then we travel 0.5 from this corner to this corner, again at the same angle of 180. So 0.5 at 0.5 angle 180. Then we're going to travel this distance. Although it's not given to us, we can figure it out because the distance from the bottom to the top is 1.5, and the distance from the bottom to the beginning of our line is 0.75. So if we do a little quick math, we'll know that this length, even though it's not given, is 0.75. So we go 0.75 at an angle of 90, straight up. We go 0.75 at an angle of 0, because we're going straight in the horizontal. And this one, now we got to do a little math. Again, it's pretty simple though. From all the way from the bottom, and we have to look across. All the way from the bottom, all the way to the top is 2.25 units. And from the bottom to the beginning of our line is 1.50 units. So what that's saying to us is, if we do some quick math, that we're going 0.75 units straight up. So at 0.75, angle of 90, then we will travel 1.75 at an angle of 0. Then we're going to travel down some distance that we have to figure out. The full length is 2.25 minus 1.75. I think that adds up to 0.5. So we're going to travel at 0.5 straight down. That's an angle of 270. Then we're going to travel this little length. And this little length, we don't know it, but we have to figure it out. So that's 2.75 minus 0.75. That gives us 2 minus 1.75 leaves us with 0.25. So we're going to travel from here 0.25 at an angle of 0. Then we're going to go straight down. Also, we'll have to figure that one out. That's 1.75 minus 0.5. That gives us 1.25. So we're traveling from here 1.25 straight down. So at 1.25, angle of 270. This we don't know, but we'll have to figure it out. So the entire length is 2.75 minus 0.5 minus 1.75. That leaves us with 0.5. So we're going to travel from this corner 0.5 to all horizontal to the left. The angle would be 180. So at 0.5 angle of 180, and then we just type C. It will close our shape, or we can just that dimension's given. We know which way we're going, straight down. So we'll type 0.5 angle of negative 90. So let's do it. This one should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to have the screen side by side. Let's make sure, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so we can see it bigger. I'm going to erase whatever I have here. Make sure the grid is on. grid. And the units for my grid right here is this 1.0. But if you see, we're going in quarter increments. So I can change that to 0.25. And now my grid increments are at 0.25. I'm going to change my snap settings to the same. Right now, I'm going to change the grid snap to 0.25, 0.25. Well, I don't have to type it because this is checked. So that means whatever type in the X is going to be in the Y. Alright, so now I'm snapping at a quarter increments. I'm going to start at this corner and I'm going to go to the line command, draw. And the reason they turn into buttons instead of menus is because I shrunk the size of my screen in half. But if you go there, I can select line and it's snapping to those grids. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to start traveling to the left. And it's telling me, if you notice at the bottom in blue, it actually rounds for me. So because the units it's set, let's change that. Units, I think the precision of the units is giving me 1 decimal point, and that's why it rounds 1.75 to 1.8. So I'm going to change it because 0.25 has 2 precision units. I'm going to change it to that and see what happens. So I'm going to start again, draw a line. I'm going to start at 0, 0, and every time I travel, it's doing it again. Units. Here we go. I changed the area units, not the length units. Make sure, because we're dealing with length, I need the precision of my length to have 2 decimal points. Apply and hit OK. Let's try it again. I'm going to type this time. I'm going to type L for line. I'm going to start at 0, and every time I travel 1 square, notice I get a length. So all I got to do is travel to the left until I get 1.75 there. And there's my line. It started. Now I'm going to go up 0.75. So I'm going to go straight up and down until I hit 0.75. Then I'm going to go to the left until I see 0.5. So 25.5. And up here, I'm going to go 0.75. Remember, we figured that out. 1.5 minus 75. So I'm going to go 0.75 up. Then I'm going to go 0.75 to the right. That should be 3 squares. I believe, because this is 2.25 minus 1.5, that's 0.75 up. I'm going to go 3 squares up. And then I'm going to go 1.75 to the right. I'm going to go 2.25 minus 1.75, that's 0.5 down. This little length here is 0.25, because that's 275 minus 75, that puts us at 2, minus 1.75 puts us at 0.25. So I'm going to go 0.25 to the right. Notice my dynamic input is telling me 0.25 angle 0. So I got that little, and then this length we don't know, but we can figure out. That's 1.75 minus 0.5. That should be 1.25. Then I'm going to go 0.5 to the left, because that's 2.75 minus 1.75 minus 0.5. So that's 2 squares. And if I hit close, I'm going to go here, or I can just walk my cursor down to there. And once I finish, I right click or hit enter, hit escape so I can see it, and there's my shape. The other way of doing it is to actually enter the angles and the lengths. So let's start at the same, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, I'm just going to draw half of it. And you type L for line, and then you start wherever you wish. I'm going to start right here at this grid. I'm still snapping the grid, and I'm going to start typing 1.75 at an angle of 180, so at 1.75 angle 180. It's going to draw me a line that way. Let me erase that because I think I typed that wrong. One more time. I'm going to line. I'm going to pick that point at 1.75 angle 180. That looks better. At 0.75 angle 90, because we're going straight up. There's my line. Then I'm going to go at 0.5 angle 180, because we're going horizontal to the left. Then we're going at 0.75 angle 90. This is this length that we figured out earlier. 90, because I said, I typed that backwards. At 0.75 angle 90. There's my line. Then I'm going to travel 0.75 to the right. So that's in the horizontal to the right. At 0.75 angle 0. Then I'm going to travel 0.75 straight up at 0.75 angle 90. Straight up is angle 90. Then I'm going to travel 1.75 to the right at 1.75 angle 0. Enter. Then I'm going to travel half a unit down. We did the math here. 2.25 minus 1.75 at 0.5 angle straight down is 270 or minus 90. Your choice. I'm going to type minus 90 this time just as an exercise or practice. So there I am, starting to look identical. Then I'm going to travel 0.25 units to the right. That little length right there at 0.25 angle 0. Then I'm going to travel 1.25 straight down at 1.25 angle straight down is negative 90 or 270. I'm going to type negative 90 here. Then I want to travel half a unit to the left and half a unit down. So that's at 0.5 angle 180. Enter. And then the last length at half a unit, 0.5 angle 270 or negative 90. This time I'm going to type 270. You'll get the same result. And once I'm finished, I hit enter. And here's my shapes. They look the same as that.